Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew and so excited to have on the channel with us today, James Stanger. James Stanger. We're going to keep running with it because I'm going to keep messing with it, but
It's all good, man. It's all good.
he is with CompTIA and I'm so excited to have you on the channel, James. Let me pass it for you for a quick introduction. So please, can you introduce yourself for our audience?
You bet. Hey, everyone. I'm James Stanger. I'm Chief Technology Evangelist at CompTIA. And over the decades, I've been a working technologist doing all sorts of fun things, whether it be security analytics, pen testing, Linux stuff back in the day, cloud stuff nowadays. And I'm lucky enough to go around the world talking with industry leaders. I just got back from Australia, for example. So it's great to be here. Yeah, sure appreciate it, Andrew.
Thank you so much, James. And we're so excited to have you here, especially off the jet lag from coming from all the way down under. So we will go ahead and get started and we'll hit you with the first question that we ask everyone that comes on this channel. So cybersecurity, we go through school, we get told by our teachers way back when we're in second, third grade, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? We give the answer of doctors, lawyers, veterinarian astronauts, Barbie doll cops, and so much more. But obviously we fell into the world of cybersecurity and we're very passionate about it. What's kind of your origin story of what got you into cyber?
You know, what got me into cyber was asking questions at the wrong time. I started by asking, "What's that?" And I remember one time I walked in to the server room. It used to be they keep me out of it as much as possible. After a while, they started inviting me in because it was just fun to talk to them. And I asked, "Hey, where's the system that allows me to take a look at all of the network, at all the network traffic?" This is back in the 90s. And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, where's the system that allows me to look into all of the network traffic so I can see what's going on?" And they're like, "That's either the dumbest thing I've ever heard, James, or the smartest thing I've heard all day. I don't know which it is." But what really got me into it was I just love to know what's going on underneath the hood. And that leads in two ways, either troubleshooting or into cybersecurity or both. And with cybersecurity, I was asked to solve a couple of industry problems. And specifically, it had to do with an email server that suddenly was going, back then it was taking people like 20 minutes to get their email. Okay. It was just people, it was terrible. And then one day you got it right away. And a buddy of mine came in and said, "James, I need your help. You know how to ask the right questions. Things don't get things don't get fixed that quickly." And long story longer, it turned out that the email administrator, who also had an ability to work with the firewall, contradiction in terms there, in roles there, I should say, basically bypassed the firewall and connected the email server and the domain server directly to the internet. And so, needless to say, we had the CEO's password immediately, which, by the way, was pass. That was the pass.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. So right. That's kind of just asking questions, curiosity.
No, and I think you could agree with this, James, is if you're going to be in this field, I think being curious and asking questions kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I think when it comes even to my growth and a lot of other folks I've talked to that due to them being curious, due to them asking questions, due to them wanting to break something and then put it back together and kind of determine how or why something occurred, is really what makes folks that kind of look into this industry and why they really enjoy it and why we do what we do. It's a mix of just kind of it's fun to kind of break things and then figure out why that happened. And then myself being very blue team oriented is figuring out why something's happening on my network and then determining if it's a false positive, if it's malicious, if it's my stinking red team causing noise on my network and kicking them off. But no, that's fantastic. And I think this is my next question that coming into teaching an impact. So you've been now with CompTIA over almost, I think, 2 decades and getting the...
Well, yeah, I've worked with CompTIA for at least that long, but officially I think I started in 2013, which is long enough. Yeah.
So getting to kind of being able to travel and train and talk to so many people, what's been your favorite part about teaching, kind of seeing this impact firsthand as you've gotten to travel and just talk to people about cybersecurity?
Transformation. And I hate to use the term digital transformation, but transformation. I see people transforming their lives. I've witnessed people go from, zero to hero, whatever you want to call that. I've witnessed people go from kind of, despondence into something where they're dominant in a particular technology or approach, not just in security, but say data or in cloud or what have you. Help desk. I love that. And I also love it helping organizations kind of mature their processes and kind of take a fresh look at things. Those are the things that are really fun.
Yeah, I think even myself making my transition from law enforcement to cybersecurity, CompTIA is always the first go-to certification and kind of go-to training, even back when I got in 8 years ago, where it's like, hey, go get your security plus.
Yeah,
Go
it's the
just
gateway,
joke.
right?
It's the
Yeah.
I jokingly call it from my my cop days. The gateway drug was marijuana. I say the gateway cert is security plus, and it's
I was going to use that term. I was going to use that term as well as the gateway drug. I'm great.
it's
So you put law enforcement, right,
yes.
into cybersecurity, which there's some real. One of the first gigs I ever got helping create a university curriculum. I'm not kidding. There were cops there, and the cop who came in, he knew all the best donuts. I'm not kidding. Donut shops. It
It's
was
a
just,
true fact, man. I love we call them power rows. They're power rings.
oh,
So
okay, I'm in. I'm in. But it was interesting because there were people from the FBI. There were guys who said they were from the CIA. So I don't know if that's real or not, but they really. So it was really interesting, that law enforcement thing. I came in a completely different origin. My curiosity had led me down probably a rabbit hole into British romantic literature. I'm a romantic at heart, and there was there was really no future there employment wise, and so I jumped into the tech space. Yeah, and it was fun. As a grad student, I was working on the internet in 1992. Now think about that. That's 3 years before Windows 95.
oh
I
man.
probably before a lot of people listening were born, way before they were born. But since then, I've gotten much more modern and things like that. But my point is, the origin that you have, you can take those things with you. There are portable skills you can bring with you, right? You had portable skills you brought with you, right?
Absolutely. So my first transition from law enforcement was into the state of Arizona Department of Homeland Security,
Mm.
where our now state CISO Ryan Murray and my previous SOC manager, who's now the director at one of our community colleges, they gave me my first break. And a few months in, I got the most amazing comment and kind of recognition that really put me in a solidified space where I knew I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
My boss is like, Andy, like cops make the best analysts. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you're standardized and systematic. You write a solid report. It's any case you work, you treat it like a brand new investigation where the state's the victim and whatever the bad guy is, that's your bad guy. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of is. I'm like, an alert comes in, that's my case, that's my call for service.
Mhm.
I now need to kind of go to figure out what's going on. I have to go figure out who my host is, who's my username is. Hey, what happened? What they do? Your 5 Ws, who, what, when, why, where. I'm going to then write up a report and a summary of, okay, this is what I believed happened. And I kind of pretty much have two choices. Either this is a true positive where I need to escalate this to detectives or my engineers or my next level or next team, or this is a false positive. Hey, this is a known process. It's prevalent within our network. It's code signed. Yeah, this is benign. This is something we can actually tune out. And now I can kind of now work on a hardening piece of it to actually not only just work on my piece of investigation skills, but now we're working out, okay, well, let's create an SOP for how that process happened and why it's a false positive. Let's go into a next step on, okay, well, now let's go into tuning. How's that tuning look? Are you writing that in Yara? Are you writing it in a different code or different language to tie that into whatever SIM or tooling you're using?
Yeah.
So I really took and ran with things as I progressed and grew into cybersecurity, and I loved it. I enjoyed it so much. It's obviously a very much a night and day job from working the street on the beat to getting to just be behind a computer screen and do casework in a SOC. And I've been blue team my entire career, but I loved it. And I got very well at it. And I'm like, man, this is really fun. And as I continued to grow, that curiosity kept coming into play where I'm like, okay, well, what's the next thing I need to learn? Oh, it's this. Oh, what's the next thing I need to learn? Ooh, it's this. Oh, I need to get another certification.
That's right.
Ooh, this certification partners really well with what I'm trying to do. And so on and so forth. I went back to school for my master's. I got my master's in cybersecurity, continued up the CompTIA pipeline all the way up to CASP. And once I kind of knocked out CASP, I'm like, cool, I had everything from top to bottom below it.
Wow.
So now it's just like, okay, well, now what can I do? Well, let's start doing a YouTube channel. Let's start mentoring. Let's start helping other folks that want to transition out of their job roles into cybersecurity and see what my information can kind of gleam and with other people's stories. The thing I try to harp on this channel, James, is my story is different than your story. It's different than John Hammond's story. It's different than Bailey Marshall's or Michelle Kahn. And sometimes it takes hearing that story from the right person to say, you know what, I can really relate to how James got into cyber. That's how I'm going to start following that path and kind of getting into my roots or getting into the path I want to go down, whether that's pen testing, whether that's GRC, whether that's blue teaming and so forth like that. So
I know a person who started, did a lot of gig economy stuff, Uber driving, things like that, Lyft, in the UK, this person was, and they got into the whole security analyst side, the SOC side, and I said, how was that transition? He said, well, it took a lot of hard work, but he said what he really noticed was he answers tickets, and as an Uber driver, you get a ticket, not the bad kind of ticket, but the request, and then you fulfill it. And it requires, and he went through it and kind of drew this analogy between fulfilling that Uber ticket and fulfilling a SOC analyst ticket.
no, and it's important to that because it's just like many jobs you can relate to in a sense of how it can relate to cyber. But I think that actually brings into our next question. I think that actually falls in perfect to this is certifications, education, experience. Where do you weigh the three and why? I say there is no wrong order, but just when you look at three, obviously, what do you think's the most important one or least important one to have?
I'm a big experience person. I think that certification is a great way to manifest your experience. If you know what I'm trying to say, to represent it,
Yeah.
it becomes the icon or the tip of the iceberg. The tip that you press and then shows the whole iceberg. But experience to me is so critical. I guess because I learn. What's the term? It's a fancy term, kinesthetically.
Yeah, hands-on learning. Yeah, I'm the same way. So cool.
But today's employers are looking for evidence of future success. They're looking for evidence of past success. In other words, experience. So I go with that.
I like that. I've kind of also weighed the thing where I think you need 2 of the 3 to bring yourself to the table for a job interview. You cannot have education, but you can have certifications and experience and still take a role. You can have education and experience and not have certifications and still possibly approach a role and get the certifications as you go down the pipeline. So no, I think that's actually very important. But yeah, it's odd. I know a lot of folks have the argument. It's like the chicken before the egg. Like, well, how to get the experience if I can't get the experience because they won't hire me? Well, how do I get hired if they want the experience but I don't have the? It's that OODA loop.
It's a weird thing. Well, and I think it depends on, you got a great point, Andrew, realized experience. And I don't think that employers and potential employees realize what it means to actually recognize what experience is. When people say, well, I help, it's like back in the day, I remember helping somebody on some antivirus stuff. More recently, I remember, and I was not paid for it. And more recently, I was asked to help somebody with a 2-factor authentication problem they were having. Wasn't paid for that. Okay, wait a minute, James. So that's not really experience if you're not paid for it. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no,
and
definitely.
It's very difficult for employers and employees alike to recognize and experience when they see it. You know what I'm trying to say?
No, absolutely. And the thing I explain to people too is like, if you look at the education piece, so let's say you're going to education first, they say the equivalence of 4-year degree is, I think, like 2 years of experience because of like I can't remember the exact science. There's a science or a study on it. And the thing I tell people to do too, it's like, look, like there's nothing saying you can't start building out your own experience, doing the home labs, building a GitHub repository.
You bet.
I know a lot of folks that try to get in the blue team piece of it. Oh, I've never touched the SIM. I never jumped into that stuff. My cool. Splunk and Elastic, Chronicle, Sumo Logic. A lot of those sites have free training and free tiers you can go dive into to start getting that experience. I've always told people too, like leverage, try Hack Me, Hack the Box, Pluralsight, CertMaster now with CompTIA as well, where you get lab on experience that you can actually go into. And it sounds kind of maybe silly when I say this, but I think it might be a new thing that's coming around. But I tell people to make a YouTube channel. And the reason why I say that, so if James wants to see how Andrew Karate can do, hey, well, we need someone to do Splunk. Well, James, I'm glad you asked. I actually did a whole Splunk series on Try Hack Me where I did the boss of the SOC. I did Splunk rooms 1 through 3, and I walked through my thought process. I have my write-ups. I talk about how I solved the solutions. And now you're not only solidifying the experience you put on your resume, but you're now also, you give them a visual, like, look, you can go see how I work and my thought process and how I talk out problems.
Yeah, that's what they want. I love that the Splunk example because you're getting into not only experience using a hands-on tool, and hands-on is everything for me in a sense.
Yeah.
But part of the hands-on is also, like you just said, mapping it to a business process or protecting something about the business. When people realize, okay, I'm hiring Andrew and James because they recognize that this tech stuff actually adds up to business stuff, to a business need.
Yep. Yeah, it's the ROI, right? A business wants return on investment, and it's one thing where it's like, and I've had to deal with this where I get really good at a certain sim, and then 6 months in, hey, we're changing. We're going to go to this completely different one. It's a slightly different language, a slightly different syntax, and it's like, okay, well, shoot, now I gotta go learn something else. And the thing I think that personally, talking to also several managers on my channel, it's the want of someone to learn. Because the thing is, like, I can teach
willingness to learn, right?
Yes, I can teach someone a tool. I can teach someone a process. I can write out a very thorough, standardized and systematic SOP that says, hey, step 1, assign yourself the case. Step 2, put it in progress. I can't teach willingness to work. I can't teach self-drive. And if I can't motivate you to go be the best candidate, be the best worker, I always tell my folks, hey, when you're in your first few months at your work, you need to be the go-to person. Be a rock star on onboarding. When things come across your desk for ad hoc tasks, be the first one to raise your hand and volunteer. Because I have a very weird method. Like, I have a weird analogy of where some folks like, oh no, you want to keep your head down, just do the status quo and get the standard down. I'm like, no, I say make waves in a good way. Be the person to volunteer. Be the one to challenge yourself. Be the one that if your boss needs something done, they know they can recount on you, and you're going to probably ask questions. You're going to get stuck, but do all your due diligence to go run through every option, Google every choice. And when you're stuck, that's when you can then come to your tier 2, your manager saying, hey, James, I'm stuck on this piece of it, but real quick before you ask anything, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. This is what I think we need to do, but I need some direction. Is that the right place I need to go? And it's bringing your tier 2 or your management a solution or a thought of what's up to next compared to the, hey, I'm stuck, James, I don't know what to do.
No, that makes perfect sense. A friend of mine who's run a couple of companies and is in cybersecurity right now, he always tells his family, well, make something happen. Do you like that experience thing? I think a lot of that catch-22, and it's a serious problem to solve. And each person has to solve it in their own way. One way to do this is, first of all, start your own little consulting company. And that's not just a fake thing. Actually be able to point to people who you helped. That's a third party. That's third-party validation. Certification is third-party validation. It's part of that continuum. The second thing I think about is, have you ever heard, Andrew, of something called Amazon Mechanical Turk? It's the oddest name.
I've actually not. I'm going to write that down actually, because I've heard of Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. I think I've heard of those guys. Aristotle talked. They're interesting folks. A DNS problem they had the other day was interesting.
Oh man, I've already laughed at all the memes. It's like push the patch to AWS, taking the day off. It's like just like CrowdStrikes.
Yeah, that's it. At CrowdStrike, that was their way to take some time off. That's the way of Amazon. It's interesting. The fundamental things apply. When it comes to DNS, but
yeah.
So by the way, learn your DNS cybersecurity.
The moral of the story is DNS.
But Mechanical Turk is interesting because it's the idea of a 24/7 workforce. You, as somebody with varied levels of experience, I don't care how experienced you are, Mondo to just beginning, you can enroll in Mechanical Turk and get a little micro gig. That's experience that's third-party vetted. You know what I mean? If you work
okay. So there's also, have you heard of Upwork?
Yes, that's
okay.
That's a nation. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, now I get it. That makes sense. Oh no, it's so cool.
There are a lot of those.
Nice.
A lot of those out there.
And you're absolutely right, because I think some folks they discredit working and helping family, helping do those little things where it's like, well, I don't have any experience. I'm like, well, walk me through a home network. And like they have like some elaborate. Some of my friends have some elaborate home labs.
Oh, well, you're a gamer, right? I mean, that leads to it.
Yes,
right? You're solving a problem. There are problems in gaming you have to solve, right? The access issues, right?
Yeah. And so I tell people, I'm like, look, like, and another great way too is like volunteering for nonprofits. I have a good friend of mine that he got his in by volunteering at his church. He became like a IT help desk kind of makeshift role specifically for his church for like 1-2 years, all nonprofit, then actually got hired on full time by his church to be there, like their in-house IT guy part-time. And then after another year, he made that pivot and then got into like a full-time cyber role. So like, yeah, reaching out to your school districts, nonprofits, reaching out to if there's anything you can assist with.
Okay.
And it's great for volunteering because it's on a resume for volunteer hours. But then you're also actually learning and like getting that information from whatever that organization is using. If they're using specific tools or they
Mhm.
have a problem that you're able to help solve, that's a huge resume builder.
Yep, find a tech group as well, a group of managers or CISOs or fellow techies in your area, and you could do that online or you could do that in person. Networking is part of the gig too.
Absolutely. Well, I have two more questions for you, James,
Sure,
and
man.
I won't keep you too much longer. But fun one here, and to take a step back outside of the cyber world, when
Okay.
you're not doing cyber, when you're not getting to travel the world and go talk to CEOs and directors and businesses, what does James like to do for fun to kind of unplug and kind of take a break from cyber?
I've got a couple old cars that I work on. I have a 1975 Toyota Land Cruiser. Kind of looks like a
Okay.
Jeep, really old thing, and that I love working on. That helps me unwind. And then I have a 1964 and a half Mustang
Oh,
that I can work.
nice.
The other things that I like to do, scuba diving. I just was able to dive the
Oh,
Great
nice.
Barrier Reef.
So jealous. Oh my
That was
gosh.
incredible. A giant clam. Imagine the room you're in. This giant clam, it would fit in your room.
Oh my
Uh, but
gosh.
but two of them might not. I mean, it was that they're that
Wow,
big.
yeah, that's
I
so
thought it was
cool.
cool.
Oh, so
So
cool.
scuba diving and then kayaking. I like to do a lot of kayaking. So outdoor stuff, hiking, stuff like that.
I
I
actually
don't look like I spend time doing that, but
I actually got my kayaking. I got my scuba diving certification while I was in Kuwait. So
perfect.
wildest places ever. And it's like I'm terrified of the ocean. By the way, I hate sharks. One of my biggest fears. However, comma, it is on my bucket list if I ever make it out to Australia to go dive the Great Barrier Reef. Just to say I did it. And it's like,
It's
especially
cool.
while it's still here. So
Yeah, well, it's still because I saw a lot of bleaching there. I have to say,
yeah.
I'm sure by going out there, I contributed to that. So there's another 22. But uh, get out there. Come to the Puget Sound. We have two types of sharks. There's probably more, but two types of sharks that are little dogfish that I think the biggest of them are 3, 4 feet long. But there's also six gills, but they're
Mhm.
usually down at 800, 600 feet, but they get like 20 feet long.
Oh my
But
gosh.
they don't hurt people. So.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Uh, well, James, this was so much fun. And before I hit you with the final question before signing off for the call, is a huge thank you for coming onto the channel. The way I like to say thank you to my guests is I want to send you some awesome, cool Ginger Hacker swag from my little swag shop. And there's shot glasses, there's jackets, there's shirts, there's stickers. But I'll make sure I kick that off to you before we sign off tonight.
Oh, you're
And but yeah, no, this was so much fun, and I really appreciate the time getting to chat with you. And the last question we ask folks before we sign off is, what's the last piece of advice you'd give somebody trying to break into cyber?
continual learning, continual curiosity, and try to have fun with it. Make it fun. We love our linear thinkers. That's great. Don't let that get in the way of your sense of humor. So have some fun with it. Uh, and by the way, I have to say, my great grandma was a ginger, so I have hints of that. You can't tell from here, but we have an identity there.
Well, I appreciate it, James. And everybody, as always, if you've made it this far, please like, comment, subscribe. What was your favorite part or my favorite mess up today on these amazing videos as we keep going through our amazing series of breaking into cyber? And do not forget, and huge shout outs and updates coming to the channel. And we have an amazing silent auction coming in December continuously to sponsor the Ginger Hacker Initiative. So everybody, thank you so much for sticking around. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video.